The Associated Press Comeback Player of the Year is one of the biggest awards given out during the NFL honors. This year, one name was left off the ballot. In 2023, Texans receiver John Metchie III made his NFL debut, playing football for the first time in over 600 days. Between tearing his ACL in his final college game, to then being diagnosed with cancer just months after being drafted, the Canadian receiver was unsure if he would ever play the game again. Today, I'll do my best to tell the entire story. This is the return of my favorite series on the channel, Canadian Connections, where you join me as we highlight NFL players with ties to the Great White North. If you enjoy it, please consider hitting subscribe. John Metchie III was born in Taiwan, but soon moved to Brampton, Ontario. At a young age, he began playing sports, with soccer and lacrosse. It was in middle school where he started playing football, following in the footsteps of his older brothers, and he fell in love with the sport. Realizing that he was so talented at such a young age, he and his family would have a rather unique decision to make for John's future. Playing high school football in Canada makes it very hard to be noticed by American schools, which creates a unique roadblock for many young players, including Metchie. At just 14 years old, he had a decision to make: stay in Canada and fight through the ranks like his brother, or move to America to play high school football. I couldn't fathom the situation Metchie was in. To have to move to another country and leave his family behind at just 14 is something very unprecedented. Ultimately, he would relocate to Maryland to play high school football at St. James. Metchie's freshman season ended suddenly. After taking a hit to the chest, his heart would become enlarged, causing murmurs. With his family over 1,000 kilometers away, a young John Metchie would have to face this adversity alone in a whole different country. That adversity helped him realize how important football is, and made him determined to have the best sophomore season possible. In the summer of 2015, he would work daily on his craft, staying in the United States and training there, and the hard work paid off, as Metchie not only put together a great sophomore year, but also had begun catching the attention of some top colleges. By the end of his 4-year high school career at St. James, Metchie had over 2,500 receiving yards, 1,300 rushing, and 42 touchdowns. He would decide to spend a postgraduate year at Petty School in New Jersey before beginning his college career. Coming out of high school, Metchie earned a 4-star grade in his recruiting process. He received several offers, most notably from Penn State and Alabama. Eventually, he decided to attend the University of Alabama, and it was as a member of the Tide where Metchie would become known as the Crimson Crane. Following a quiet freshman year, he burst onto the scene with over 900 yards and 6 touchdowns, which earned him the John Cornish Trophy, named after legendary college and CFL running back. The award is given to the top Canadian in college football each year. His junior season was even better, as Metchie managed 1,142 yards and 8 touchdowns on 96 catches. Unfortunately, he would end up tearing his ACL in the SEC Championship game, another setback for the Brampton product, following a season that saw him race up NFL teams' draft boards while once again capturing the John Cornish Trophy, joining Nathan Rourke as repeat winners. Due to his ACL injury, it was unclear what would happen to Metchie during the draft, as he would be unable to partake in any workouts or the combine. The Houston Texans would trade up to pick number 44 in the 2022 NFL Draft and use that selection on John Metchie III. However, his NFL career would soon take a turn and have to be put on hold. It was in July of 2022 when John Metchie learned that he had acute promyelocytic leukemia. Assuring everybody that it was highly treatable, Metchie asked for privacy as he stepped away from the game he loved to battle cancer. He said that during this time he relied heavily on faith, telling ESPN, quote, "At the very beginning of it, when you're diagnosed, it's a very tough part. It's the most critical part. You can only rely on your faith in those situations when you're faced with your own mortality. With him throughout this entire process was his family, including brother Royce, who is a defensive back for the CFL Toronto Argonauts, who took a step away from the Argos to support his brother during this time. Royce told Global News that John, quote, attacked it like everything he does. It's one thing to dwell on the bad news, but it doesn't do you any good just sitting on it. You have to accept that it is what it is and move forward. Metchie was able to receive proper treatment and ultimately beat cancer after just over a year, and he was cleared to return back to the Houston Texans. When asked about whether he ever considered that he may never play football again, Metchie said, quote, I feel like at the beginning stages, of course, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the future has in store for you. You, of course, hope that you can overcome it and play football, but I would say probably in the beginning stages there might have been some doubt. But I've had strong faith. I had strong faith then, and I have strong faith now. His return to the field in preseason would be the first time that Metchie had played in a football game in 614 days. The last time he took the field was for the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC Championship game, where he tore his ACL. Head coach D'Amico Ryans talked about John Metchie following his NFL debut in Week 2, saying, quote, credit to John. All the work he has put in, I'm proud of him. Proud moment for him. In his first NFL season, John Metchie III wasn't quite able to make the impact he wanted to. However, one silver lining is the games played. Following two major setbacks and more adversity than some athletes have faced in their entire careers, the 23-year-old would play in 16 of 17 regular season games. Putting up 16 catches for 158 yards isn't what he expected of himself. But might I remind you of his freshman season at Bama? 13 games, 4 catches, 23 yards. The breakout is on the horizon for Metchie in the NFL. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the nominees this year for AP Comeback Player of the Year. I get that there is a criteria to be nominated, but given what John Metchie III had to overcome, he at the very least was worthy of consideration for this award. Not only has Metchie had a tough last few years, following his ACL and cancer diagnosis, but ever since 14 years old, John Metchie has overcome the odds, becoming a top US recruit after leaving Canada to pursue high school football, to a top 50 pick in the NFL. He deserves every bit of recognition he has gotten and so much more. Soon, I have no doubt that John Metchie will not only be an impact player for Houston, but also the face of the NFL in Canada. This is one of the best stories that anybody has throughout the entire league, and I hope that I was able to do it justice by telling it to you all today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button and let me know who you want to see next on Canadian Connections. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.